Okay, welcome back. So now we're going to look at our project here and do some indenting. In other words, get this so where we can kind of tell what's going on here. So we did put the extra line in between each of the groups there, but for the most part, that's okay. But I'd like to go a little bit further with it and at least maybe make sure that when we're looking at it, for instance, that we can tell that alpha is underneath phase one, and then that the task, first to the fourth task here, are underneath the alpha as a heading, all right? And the same thing with the rest of them, okay? So here's how it would work first, is we would take, and you can do this a number of different ways. I think probably the easiest way would be maybe to select this range right here. And then up in the task tab up here, we have this little indent button right here. So what's going to happen is we're going to indent all of this over. So when we go and hit that, boom, it indents over. Now, what happens is phase one then becomes what we call a summary task. So it's not really a task in itself. It's more of a summarization of whatever is underneath it. So, and you'll see that later on. We'll talk more about it. And then, of course, we'll go back and we'll select now these guys and bring them over one more. And now those are going to be a sub underneath these. So these are the actual tasks. But now this is going to be a summary task of that. And then, of course, this is a summary task of alpha and everything else here. So it's a nice little hierarchy. But it's a nice visual, too, because it makes it easier to see what's going on. Now, if you maybe accidentally or maybe purposely had done something like this where maybe you added more indent to these last two, now this one becomes the summary task. And you say, oh, wait a minute, I didn't mean to do that. How do you get it back? Well, the best way is just to go back to those same two. And here, we're going to click on to where it says outdent. That's going to basically go the opposite. And that fixes it right up. Now we just need to do the rest of them. So now, what I'll do is I'll take this whole section here, we're going to indent it, and that will now bring delta in the same lineup, in the same alignment with alpha, and then I'll just take the latter three tasks here and indent that, and that fixes that one up for us. So that looks good. All right, now we'll go back to now phase two now, highlight all of that, and we can actually, we can probably do a whole bunch at the same time. Let's just say we do those, because that would all be under, oh, I went too far, sorry. So we'll go from here down to there, okay? So now in this case, what we can do is we can indent that. That all goes over. And then we'll take these guys here, indent it, and then take these guys there and indent those as well. And now we've got that all fixed up. Okay, so now we'll go over to phase three. Phase three just has one sub to it, so we'll just indent that range, and then we'll take all of these guys and indent those. So that worked out pretty good. Now for phase four, looks like we go all those there, indent it, and then take these, indent, and then take these and indent those. So there we go. And then phase five, same thing there. We'll indent that, and that one, and that one. So that's it. So that's all we have to do there. So that makes it at least a little bit more, you can kind of see what's going on. Makes it logistically more easily to see. Now, a couple more things I want to do that are kind of along the lines of what we've been doing so far is I want to add a project summary task, which is basically a summary task that oversees all of our project. Now, to do that, what we do is we go over here into the Format tab, and there's a choice on here called Outline, it's called Project Summary Task. So when we click onto that, that does this. Now what will happen, you'll see then this overall summary task. And I'm going to go ahead and just make this a little bit wider so you can see it. So, and it gets to be quite long. It gives you some sort of a title in there that has to do with whatever the name of your file is. We don't really need to keep it that long. I mean, we can just keep it just very, very short. We can just say, you know, we can just call it maybe create project maybe. And even go beyond. So what we can do here is just click onto this a few times and then go kind of like in the beginning and just kind of delete this. And we'll just call it create project. It could be anything. It could be any name you want. I'll leave it like that though. And then I'll enter that in, and there we go. And then what I'll do is I'll go ahead and I'll pull this out a little bit so we can see our dates and everything. What's kind of interesting here, when you're doing this, you can go ahead and just like do a double click on that. So if you're over here, double click comes right up against it there, all right? But the other thing too, we need to make this wider, so I'm gonna go ahead and double click that, and then I'll double click this, and there we go. I'll double click that, double click that. You spend all day just doing those things, right? Over here, we probably don't need to have that much room here. We can actually bring that in quite a bit just by double clicking, just like that, right? So it gives us a lot of room to work with, and we'll just kind of keep it like this for now. And scroll a little bit. Okay, so there we go. The other thing I want to do is I want to add what is called a work breakdown structure. Now, Microsoft has that work breakdown structure is a common name out there in the project management world, and we do have that feature as well. But we also have this thing called outline numbering, which is if you go over into the format here and click on outline number like that, what it does is it adds like an outline numbering scheme to all of your tasks and summary tasks. I'll go ahead and double click this, make it wider there. So what it did here is it put like phase 1 is 1, alpha is 1.1, and then the first task is 1.1.1, then 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, and on it goes. It's pretty neat. And it's just it's nothing that you have to have. It's just something where it makes it easier when you're talking about maybe your project over the phone with somebody or whatever happens to be. It might be easier just to say, hey, look at 1.1.2 or something like that. Or look at 2.1, you know, 0.1 or something like that. It might be a little bit easier to find it by way of the numbering versus looking at the text, right? So just something to kind of add in there if you think that might be something you could use. But that's about it. So we're done with this video. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.